This morning on Inside Kansas Politics, we take a closer look at the Electoral College. It's one of the most debated parts of our democracy. From its roots in the founding of our nation to modern-day controversies, we explore its history and its impact. How did the system come to be? And why does it still play a pivotal role in electing our leaders? From the Kansas State Capitol, this is Inside Kansas Politics. You're taking a look inside Kansas politics. Welcome in. I'm Rebecca Chung. This morning we have a special episode diving into the Electoral College. Now, some say it's outdated, and others defend its place in preserving our democracy. Joining me this morning to break things down is political analyst Bob Beatty. All right, Bob, so let's first talk about the history of the Electoral College. You really have to start there. So why exactly was this system put in place?
Well, first, this is a very appropriate topic for this time of year, so I'm so glad we're doing it. But the Electoral College is really a product of the birth of the United States. Of course, the United States had its revolution against the United Kingdom, England and Great Britain, which had a king. And so the American colonists did not want that much power put into one person, the king. And so when America got its independence, they quickly realized they would need some sort of executive, and ended up being the president. And they set up the U.S. Senate, they set up the U.S. House, and then of course they had the presidency. And the U.S. House was going to be, where the masses voted for their representatives. But the founding fathers, and they were all men at the time, were a little bit afraid of giving the entire government over to the people, but they also didn't want to give too much power to the executive. And so they thought, let's let the states pick the executive or the president. So they decided that the president would not be elected by all the people, but in fact, that the president would be elected by the states. And so each state would send in their votes for the president, and that's how we got the Electoral College, which is really where the president is elected by points, really, that come from the states, and you need 270 to win. And
this dates back to 1804, right?
Well, they changed the system in 1804 because the original system had the president being elected, and then the vice president was the person with the second most votes. Well, and so they had a chance to sort of change the entire Electoral College system in 1804 and also at later times as well. But they really didn't want to do it because the North feared that the South would be upset if the system was changed. And of course, this is before the Civil War. And what the South was afraid of was that somehow the American system could be dominated by the North, and then slavery would be abolished. And so the Electoral College, for the South, it gave the South the idea that they had more power than under a popular vote system, so they kept it.
Okay, so for years we've had this system in place. So what is the real focus when we see presidential candidates out on the campaign trail? Are they aiming for the popular vote, or are they looking at the electoral vote? So how does that strategy also shift when they're looking at, who they're trying to attract?
That's a great question, because a lot of people, and including presidents and presidential candidates, they look at polls. And what we often see are national polls. A candidate is at 52 versus 48 nationally. But really, when they're campaigning for the presidency, what the candidates are doing is looking at the specific states that are called swing states, meaning that they could go for either candidate. And every election, there's a different number of swing states, but they're really campaigning, especially in the last few months, only in those swing states, and they use the polling to see if it's really a swing state, and they can change every 4 years. But so what we get is hundreds of millions of dollars spent in a presidential election, actually more than $1 billion, but just in those small swing states. So the only time we in Kansas or somebody in Oregon will see a presidential candidate TV ad, for example, will be if they're watching cable. because often they'll run ads on cable just to hit those states, but they accidentally hit us in Kansas or Oregon or wherever.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. We are counting down the days until Election Day. We're less than 2 weeks away now. Coming up, how both sides are battling it out in swing states and how the electoral vote factors in. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
After a motorcycle crash, you got a lawyer up ASAP.
Paul Sr.'s right. The clock is ticking. Your injuries need attention. Deadlines are coming fast, and the insurance company may already have the jump on you.
That's why Devon James is here for you 24/7. The sooner you call us, the better we can help you.
Don't get left in the dust. After a crash, call right now. Motorcycle crash, Devon James wins. Call or text 888-8888.
Greatness is a choice. It requires passion and grit. It's the constant pursuit of more. Greatness has no off-season.
I eat awesome for breakfast.
You eat oatmeal, Frank.
I got the eye of the tiger.
That's your cataracts, Maureen.
The trophy for the greatest senior living community on the planet for nothing.
Is that a thing? You bet it is. When it's time for what's next, join the McCrite team and choose greatness.
There's a new sense of pride in Topeka, and local business is the key to our success. Local business is the backbone of our economy, and it drives our prosperity. Please support Topeka's local business leaders like God's Storehouse, Thai Table Restaurant, and the Refinery.
I'm Justin Glasgow, owner of Performance Tire and Auto. This season, don't just change your tires, upgrade them and save. From now until November 30th, get up to a $100 Cooper Tire reward with a purchase of 4 qualifying tires. Drive away confident no matter what the weather. Your journey to winter driving safety begins here. Visit us at either of our 2 locations, 17th and Topeka Boulevard or 1735 North Kansas Avenue.
And here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
We are all new with Al Roca, plus from the series found, Shanola Hampton.
I know you like croissants. I brought some for you.
That's really good!
Monday at 3 on 27 KSNT.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. Election day is getting closer and closer, and for presidential candidates, it's a race to 270. They're trying to win over some key states. Matt Pritchard tells us how both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are focusing on the election's final days.
The time for talk.
We may not have a country anymore.
Donald Trump is an unserious man.
Is quickly coming to a close. Trump honing in on working class and Latino voters.
It's an incredible community, and I liked them, and they liked me.
Kamala Harris rallying in states like Michigan, Pennsylvania, even Texas, working to build support among undecided Republicans.
I intend to be a president for all Americans.
Now for analysts,
this race is so close.
The intensity of this race is just ratcheting up.
The strategies at this stage are tried and true. A robust ground game unfolding nationwide, leaning on door knocks, word of mouth, and high-profile surrogates.
A lot of the money shifts to hiring people to go door to door, to get on the phones, to identify supporters, and to make absolute certain that those supporters are going to turn out and vote.
Now, polling shows a deadlocked race between Trump and Harris.
Those numbers are just for today. They're not the numbers in 2 weeks.
Data that brings words of caution from experts.
The ground game matters. Get out the vote effort matters. Get your people to the polls and potentially show the polls that they predicted wrong.
And while all those factors play out, Harris and Trump are sprinting for the finish line.
They're both solidifying their wall and trying to flip some states that are really so tight.
We have come down in this 50-state race for president to probably just 5 states.
All right, Bob, and right now the candidates are focusing on swing states, and it also has to do with the system we have in place. There's been a number of times where candidates have won the popular vote, right, and then also lost the electoral vote.
That's right. It's actually happened 5 times in American history. So to repeat what you said, that's happened where candidates in the United States have actually gotten fewer votes than the person that ends up being president because he has won the Electoral College. And it's happened twice since 2000. And so that's why there's been a lot more talk about the Electoral College, because it didn't happen from 1888 to 2000, as you can see there, and then all of a sudden twice, in the last 20 some odd years. So it's a very hot topic because there's a number of people that actually do think that the president should be elected by whoever gets the most votes and not the Electoral College.
And then also there are Democrats that have won the popular vote in 7 of the last 8 elections, right?
Well, that's true. So again, think about that. Democrats have won in 7 of the last 8 elections the popular vote. So talk about getting rid of the Electoral College. In pure practical terms, many Republicans are like, we don't even want to debate this because it's possible we'd lose almost every single time because, in the last basically 20 odd years, Democrats just have simply done better. And so Republicans at the moment have no incentive to get rid of the Electoral College. I always say, when people say, hey, will people ever get rid of the Electoral College? I say, well, it'll be much more possible if a Republican was ever to win the popular vote and lose the Electoral College, then they might have an incentive.
All right, Bob, thank you so much. When we come back, which battleground states are the ones to watch? We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Brown's Tree Service does it all, from bushes to commercial clearing. We're a second-generation family-owned business that's been serving Northeast Kansas for over 50 years. Our robotic equipment is operated remotely, making the job safer and faster. We can easily maneuver tight spots. Our certified arborists will help keep your trees in tip-top shape. We'll protect them from disease and insects. Our large crew is insured and licensed. We're scheduling now. Contact Brown's Tree Service today.
For the past 20 years, this community has trusted our in-house crews to install floors all across the area, and we thank you. For the best craftsmanship and overall value, thank Topeka's premier flooring and onyx dealer, Capital City Flooring, where fine quality and service matter most.
Heartland Door and Windows Fall Savings Event is happening now. Select garage door models anywhere from 4 to 12% off from now through November. Save up to $300 on Classica single doors, or up to $500 on Hillcrest double doors, and up to $1,000 on Vista double doors, one of the most high-end doors in the industry. Call today and ask about the Heartland Door and Window Fall Savings Event and take advantage of these great deals happening now through November in Topeka, Lawrence, Manhattan, and St. Joseph.
This deal's so good, it'll give you chills. Energy-efficient Trane AC units at a savings of up to 35%. It's the Blue Dot year-end closeout. No interest until 2030, no money down, and a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Schedule today.
Prices are falling fast for the fall event at Briggs Dodge Ram Fiat. Get a new Ram 1500 Classic Tradesman, up to $9,700 off MSRP. Huge deals during Ram Power Days, up to $9,700 off for your new truck. And come see our selection of certified pre-owned models under
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. I'm Rebecca Chung. The Electoral College usually shifts the focus to battleground states for presidential candidates. Now, these are the key states this election and the number of Electoral College votes for each. Taking a look at this graphic, we have Arizona, 11 Electoral College votes there. Then we have Georgia, 16 Electoral College votes. Michigan, 15. Nevada, 6. North Carolina, 16. Pennsylvania, 19. And Wisconsin, 10. Now, early voting is also underway in many states across the country. Take a look at the scene over in Wisconsin. People are filing in to cast their vote. It's a critical battleground state. Here now to break down some of the other states to watch is political analyst Bob Beatty. And Bob, for the last 2 weeks, we've been hearing about the importance of the blue wall.
Yes, the famous blue wall. And why that's so well known is that Kamala Harris is at 225 electoral votes, meaning she pretty much has those sort of locked up. She'll probably win those. And if she then wins Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, she gets to 269. And now you're saying, wait, you need 270 to win. Well, she gets to 269 and then wins one vote in Nebraska, which is how they allocate their votes, and she's at 270. So you just never know where those votes may fall. So we're going to hear from Steve Kornacki with more about Wisconsin.
All right, less than 2 weeks from now, we're going to be looking at this map as it fills in one county at a time with election results. I'm sure you'll be watching, and we will be watching nationally. Wisconsin's such a critical state. Where are we going to be watching in particular on election night? A couple things that I'm certainly looking at here. Just start with where the Democratic vote in Wisconsin. It's become much more geographically concentrated over the last number of years here. Dane County, where Madison is, just Democrats have and more votes out of there, it seems, by the election. Is the margin for Democrats going up even more in Dane County? They want it to be. They probably need it to be. You know, Milwaukee County itself, another core area for Democrats, Eau Claire, La Crosse, a couple of areas around the state. But the Democrats, more and more, it's a few counties where they just squeeze massive margins out of there. And the Republican support, meanwhile, in the Trump era, obviously much more geographically spread out. But a couple places I'm going to be looking in particular, if Trump, who lost the state narrowly in 2020, is going to flip it back in 2024. How about Rock County, where Janesville is? How about Racine County? These are places where demographically the Trump campaign thinks it has a chance to make some strides here, to make some gains over how they've done in the past. So I'm going to be paying attention to those counties as well, as a little bit of a test of, is Trump making the kind of progress he needs to make to win the state?
And just to note, this graphic is from Real Clear polling here that shows the entire United States, but with those swing states being so important, there's only 7 of them, plus Nebraska, which allocates a couple votes from its congressional district. So it's possible that somebody could win the state, electoral votes from Nebraska, but also win a vote from their congressional district. And as I mentioned, if Kamala Harris wins the blue wall states and that one vote from Nebraska, then she wins the entire election. So that's how important these swing states are, and also the math that goes in to trying to figure out for both Trump and Kamala Harris, you know, which states can they win here to get that math to get to 270.
All right, Bob. And so the main thing to reiterate here, with the Electoral College in place, the main focus for these candidates really shifts to these battleground states as opposed to the ones that are likely to turn red or blue, right?
That's right. They'll be campaigning nonstop, you know, in those battleground states. And as we saw with Steve Kornacki, it gets down to the county level. They're analyzing, oh, do I go to this county today and this county tomorrow? Meanwhile, in the rest of the country, in Kansas and in California and a whole host of other states, they're not visiting them at all, but they're actually going to towns throughout these swing states over and over and over.
All right, Bob. Now, the next question when we come back on the table is what could play out come Election Day? And what if it's a tie? Those answers right after the break. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
It's amazing how quickly life can change. But through it all, your renewal by Andersen Windows, built for life. Save $350 on windows and $500 on patio doors with free installation, plus no interest and no payments for 12 months.
If you're looking to improve your days, focus on your nights. At the Love My Lebeda mattress sale, flippable pillow plush queen sets start at only $479. You'll love our mattress sets with cool gel memory foam, now from $599 with free or a free bed frame. Experience Talalay Latex for amazing tension relief and muscle relaxation, or try an adjustable bed with power base for the ultimate sleep experience. Plus, take 4 years to pay. Find the mattress you'll love at Lebeda Mattress Factory's Love My Lebeda mattress sale.
From clearing land to building sheds or retaining walls to digging ponds, All Seasons Excavating and Landscape is here to turn your vision into reality. Our experienced equipment operators can create landscapes that increase your property's value. Call All Seasons Excavating and Landscape today.
Vanderbilt's fall clearance event is happening now. Get all-day comfort with these Durango Rebel boots. Your choice, $119.99. FinTech thermal-lined hoodie. Closeout price, $19.99. Save $75 on Western work boots from Irish Setter, $99.99. Great buy on Wrangler Snap Western flannel shirt, starting at $21.99.
Your work boots center, Vanderbilt.
Ready to tailgate? It's the 27 KSNT Tailgate Sweepstakes. Enter now at ksnt.com for your chance to win a brand new grill and 4 tickets to the KU versus Iowa State football game. Sponsored by McCarthy Subaru of Lawrence and these fine sponsors.
In the final weeks of the presidential election, presidential candidates are making their final pitch to voters. But which ones can still be swayed? Blake Berman, host of The Hill on Youth Nation, breaks down the details on voters who have yet to decide.
Could undecided voters still hold the keys to the presidency? I'm Blake Berman with News Nation. Ballots are being cast in many states, and more than 20% of swing state voters are still deciding how they'll vote. That is according to a new Washington Post poll. 74% of swing state voters say they'll definitely choose either Vice President Kamala Harris or former President Donald Trump, according to that poll. For reference, 58% had already made their decision back in the spring. That leaves 26% who haven't firmly decided how they'll vote, even if they lean toward one candidate or the other. In the spring, by the way, it was half that number. 43% of uncommitted voters are under the age of 25, many likely voting in their first election. Less than 15% are older than 65. I'm Blake Berman, and this is the News Nation Political Minute.
All right, Bob, so let's also talk about how this race could play out, because we heard about undecided voters. So how could they impact what we see come November?
Well, we like to say that, of course, they would have a large impact, right, because they're undecided, and then they have to figure out who they're going to vote for. But what we have usually is a lot of, as he mentioned, leaners. So actually, there's not very many true undecided voters. And so both campaigns, the Trump and Harris campaigns, they really want to get their voters out, those leaners, because they think they're going to vote for them, because they traditionally vote for Republican or Democrat every election. So it's really a get out the vote operation. So in the last couple weeks, really they're stressing trying to appeal to undecided voters, yes, but even more important is getting out the voters that they think already have decided they're going to vote for them. It's called Get Out the Vote, and it's just a massive push with phone calls and door knocking, and it's in those swing states, TV ads, huge rallies with celebrities, just to get those people to get out the vote that they think that they've got locked up.
And let's also talk about how the popular vote and the electoral college vote kind of interact, because you have, people that are voting, but then you also have the electoral college for each state. So tell me a little bit about how that factors into some of the choices that these candidates are making when it comes to this. Is it more important to win the electoral college vote or to win over the people?
Well, it doesn't matter at all if for a presidential candidate if they don't win the electoral college. It's, I guess, what we'd call a Pyrrhic victory, like Hillary or Al Gore in 2000 to win the popular vote. It's that electoral college that's so important, and sometimes it has come down to one state. In 2000, it came down to the state of Florida, and this is just mind-boggling. It came down to basically around 500-600 votes. So not just one state, but around 500 votes that decided who was going to be president because of the Electoral College. And there's even a famous movie starring Kevin Costner called Swing Vote, where, of course, it's a movie, but it tells the story of what happened if it came down to one voter, and he's the one voter, and both candidates actually go to his house to try to convince him to vote for him. So that's sort of the point of the Electoral College, that it can, in these swing states, every single vote can be so important.
Okay, another question is, what if we see a tie? Have we before? What happens then?
Yeah, in the infinite wisdom of the people who figured out American elections many, many years ago, they made the Electoral College to be an even number. Okay, well, great. Okay, we're going to elect someone but have a tie. What are we going to flip a coin? Well, here's what the Constitution says. If it's a tie, 269 to 269, then it doesn't matter what the popular vote is. Then they go to the House and the Senate. They go to the House of Representatives. They see who won in the election in the House of Representatives, and then they have them vote for president by state. So it doesn't even matter who has the most members of the House. It's what party has the most states. And they pick the president. But get this, then they go to the Senate, and the Senate picks the vice president. So I think you probably know what I'm going to say, is that the Senate could be a party that's in control, and the Senate could vote for a different vice president than the president. So if there's a tie, it could be a very big chance that we would have president from one party and a vice president from another. Pretty wacky system, to be honest.
Interesting. Okay. Now, tell me a little bit about this legislation that's come up in relation to the Electoral College, right?
Yeah, so the Congress actually did pass a bill after 2020 to sort of clarify the Electoral College a bit, because what happened was in 2020, Donald Trump said that he'd been robbed and the Electoral College votes were wrong and he really won them, and he told his vice president, Mike Pence, when they certify the votes from the states, Trump said, I don't want you to certify them. All right, stall, don't do it, don't certify the vote. Mike Pence said, I think my job as vice president is to open them up and count them. Not that Pence said he didn't think he had the power to stop and not do anything. But it seemed a little bit unclear. So the U.S. Congress and President Biden signed into a law to make it clear that the vice president cannot stop the certification of the Electoral College votes. The vice president simply opens the envelope and says, here they are. And so at least going forward, the vice president cannot gum up the works just because one of the candidates says, oh my, I've been robbed.
Okay, gotcha. Bob, thank you so much. Now, before we go, we wanted to remind you of some key dates as Election Day is under 2 weeks away. October 29th is the last day to apply for an early voting mail ballot. You have some time there, so make sure to get those. And they must be postmarked by Election Day and received by Friday, November 8th. The last day for in-person early voting is November 4th at noon. Election Day is Tuesday, November 5th. And remember, KSNT is your local election headquarters. You can count on 27 News for your election coverage, and you can view the latest election news. Just head to ksnt.com/elections. And that was your look inside Kansas politics. We'll see you right here next Sunday on 27 KSNT at 10:30 a.m. Have a good day.